Hi, everyone. Welcome to Bitwarden Vault Hours. My name is Vivian Schick, and I have my co-hosts with me this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are, Ryan Louisbrand and Chloe Gray. And you'll get to meet some other members of the Bitwarden team in just a few moments. So here is what is on the agenda today. The first couple of topics are going to be a little bit on the denser side. Um, Multi-factor encryption, it's probably not something you've heard Bitwarden talk a lot about, but it is truly fundamental to how Bitwarden approaches vault security and the information that's stored in your vaults. Matt, who is on the Bitwarden engineering team, he's the principal software engineer. He is here with us today to explain a little bit more about what this means. Collections, as you probably all know, if you've been using Bitwarden, collections are essentially how you manage access to all of your credentials stored in your vault. If you use Bitwarden to share passwords with others, you'll probably want to hear a little bit more about the new collection settings that Bitwarden just rolled out this past month. And my colleague Ryan is going to speak to this and explain a little bit more about what that means. Autofill is the one feature in Bitwarden that I use every single day. It's also the feature that convinced my mom, who is literally clutching to her notepad of passwords, unwilling to let that go, to start using Bitwarden. And so my colleague Casey is going to be talking a little bit about some upcoming enhancements to Autofill. And then finally, this topic, the recovery code topic, was inspired by a recent Reddit post, a community member asking for best practices on accessing their recovery code in case they lose their phone or device. And so Chloe is going to share a little bit about that. Now, as you know, Vault Hours is designed to be very interactive. And so if at any point you want to join us on screen, we welcome that tremendously. Just leave a note in the chat and I will pull you on stage with us. So any questions before we begin? Feel free to insert those in chat. If not, I am going to introduce Matt Gibson. So let's see. So most password managers use traditional forms of encryption to protect your vault information, and but I would say few are as committed to zero knowledge and end-to-end encryption as Bitwarden, and these are truly guiding principles of how we develop our features and functionalities. So you've heard us talk a lot about zero knowledge, end-to-end encryption, but probably not so much about multi-factor encryption. It's not something users can really see or experience. But again, as I mentioned, it is fundamental to the Bitwarden approach to security. And so today, we've invited Principal Software Engineer Matt Gibson to talk a little bit about this topic. So Matt, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Vivian. Yeah, I really appreciate that intro because what we are talking about today is beyond sort of the end-to-end encryption that happens client side, like on your actual device, and more about how Bitwarden protects data sort of holistically. So it's a little bit less flashy, a little bit less of the marketing talk, but it's just as important at making sure that your data is protected in the very long term. So go ahead and go to the next slide. To start off here, Bitwarden veterans will recognize this. We've used it before, but we're going to talk about the basics of kind of what encryption is. It's the bread and butter of what we do around here, but it's useful to be reminded kind of what's going on and why we do it. But what it is really is just kind of a math problem where there's a couple of inputs. One is the clear text, the readable stuff that you want to encrypt, and then the other is secret information. And what encryption does is it jumbles up that clear text, make it just into gibberish. Ideally, it looks completely random, and it produces what we call a ciphertext. Now, this ciphertext is reversible. You can get your clear text back out, but only if you have the secrets that you initially had that created it. That's a really important feature. It's totally critical. And it's by far the best way that we have to protect data. And the reason for that is even if somebody gets a hold of your ciphertext, the encrypted text, and even if they know how you produced it, they still can't reverse that out. Your data is still protected as long as your secrets are safe. And this is an analogy that people typically go with, like a lock and key mechanism, where encryption is the lock and the key is your secrets. And actually, that's why we call them keys all over the code base. But if you think about what you do for actual physical security, nobody just trusts a lock and key. So let's say that you have like a lockbox that you want to give to a bank to protect. They're not just going to put that out on the street and say, hey, good luck anybody who wants to pick this. They're going to have other factors on top of that that keep your data or your stuff protected. And that's what we're talking about today. So go ahead, next one, Vivian. And this is really going to be the story about how Bitwarden stores your data long term. And up at the top here is just the normal encryption that we expect. On the client, your clear text becomes a ciphertext, and that's what ultimately gets transmitted up to Bitwarden. It does this not through sort of just clear text normal communications. Instead, it uses something called TLS. This is a web standard, and really everything that you use should be using TLS. It's the S at the end of HTTPS. And like Chrome and others have like a little lock that is next to URLs to indicate that it's using TLS. But what this is a protocol that does two things. Number one, it ensures that the person you're talking to over the web is the website that you think that it is. And number two, it encrypts that communication using a key that only those two parties have. So it makes sure that there's no one else listening into your communication. So your data is already encrypted by the client using your own user key that only you have the secrets for. And then it gets transmitted into Bitwarden using an encrypted channel. And then once it actually hits our network, this is the sort of transparent box around the two lower boxes. We have an intranet that is established by an entire team here at Bitwarden that has active monitoring on the edges and within, and a hardened intranet inside. This is because really what we want to do is poke little holes in our own network to allow for the services to work, but we don't want to have unfettered access to all of our services for everyone to just go poking around in. And like I said, there's an entire team that is actively monitoring this, improving our rules all of the time. And this is kind of all best practices for hosting anything on the internet. These are all things that you're going to want to do so far. But where Bitwarden kind of goes a little bit above and beyond is when it comes to long-term data residency. So whenever we have your data at rest, we do what we refer to internally and sort of externally as multifactor encryption on your data. So the first factor is all your vault data is already encrypted on your device, and then it comes into Bitwarden and gets transferred over, and eventually we need to store that so you can access it later. The very first level that is done on the Bitwarden side is the entire Bitwarden database is encrypted using something called Microsoft Azure Transparent Data Encryption for SQL Database. Really all it is once we connect to the database, everything in there is already encrypted, and we immediately establish an encryption key that allows us to encrypt when we write and decrypt when we read. So if you were to read the data, it's already all encrypted. You'd have to have that key to be able to access it. And then for critical secure columns on the user table, these are things that are secured by human knowable things like your master password. So your user key and your master key. We can get into the specifics of what those are if someone asks, but ultimately just know that it's critical pieces of data. Those are actually encrypted again by the Bitwarden applications before they're stored. The reason for this is we want to make sure that absolutely everything that's stored in our database is secured by a very strong cryptographic key. So anything that is like human rememberable is typically not all that strong, and we want to make really sure that it is. So it gets pre-encrypted before it gets stored in our encrypted database. And that's what multi-factor encryption is to make sure that anybody who tries to attack our database with a rainbow table doesn't get any hits. That's it. Thank you, Vivian. Yeah, so really what this is all about is the product is all about trying to balance convenience, and security. That's really the game that we play. We're trying to make sure that everyone is safe online, kind of no matter what. And it's a difficult thing to balance ease of use with making sure that everything is really secure. So where we've landed on this is we want it to be extremely easy to onboard new devices. That's why the only thing you need is a master password to be able to log into Bitwarden and unencrypt your vault. But that does leave things a little bit on the trust side. We trust our users to have a secure password. And, trust but verify to make sure that they do have a securely stored vault. We make sure that it's secure by encrypting it ourselves again. So really, this is these bullet points speak for itself. Security starts with your master password. You really, really should work hard to make sure that that thing is secure. But even if it's not, Bitwarden takes a lot of steps to make sure that your data is secure at rest.
Thanks, Matt. Does anybody have any questions for Matt? Feel free to channel that through the chat. One thing I just want to iterate is that last bullet point. Different password vendors use different approaches to protecting vault data. Other password managers perhaps use something called a security key, which is something users would have to download and keep safe and store somewhere safe. But for Bitwarden, we use a different approach called the multifactor encryption, and this is really intended for both your security and convenience. There's nothing you need to do on this end. We are working hard in the background to keep everything secure. Nothing you need to download or store or keep safe or potentially lose, because we do a lot of people will lose their security key. So
I had a
great,
question for
thank
you,
you
Matt.
so much.
Go, Ryan.
So
What's up?
I still learning. Encryption is awesome, but I had a question about this. This is how Bitwarden secures a cloud server. Is it the same for people who self-host?
It's a great question. Yeah. So some of these things are the same for self-host, but not all of them are free. So the final level of like encrypting columns, that's done for you as a self-hosted thing. It's just part of the code. The thing that's not completely free is you have to set up these encrypted databases as you like externally, and then as a part of your like connecting to it is going to be that secret key that allows you to encrypt and decrypt as you read and write. So some level of this is competence in setting up your self-host, but I would say that all of those things are things that you should aspire to if you're self-hosting. And if you're not, we offer a great cloud-hosted solution.
Matt, I'm going to take you off stage so that we're not overcrowded here, but folks, Matt might be hanging out in the audience. So if you have any questions for him, please send them through chat. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I'll be sticking around.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Thanks, everybody.
All right. I think the next one is yours, Ryan.
That's right, and apologies in advance, Vivian. I have a couple of slides that build. I'm sorry.
Yep.
But I'll go ahead and talk about some new collection settings that we've put out there to increase the flexibility for collections and sharing. This has been a multi-month project, required a lot of refactoring of how we did some things, and I'm excited to show you the end result here, which has just been realized in the last month. So Vivian, go ahead and take me in. So just kind of a quick overview of collections. Let's see, it says Ryan's quiet. I can boost myself. Let's see. Let me know if that does it. Is that good? Better? All right.
Louder. Yeah.
Louder? Great. All right.
No. It's fine. It is louder for me.
Okay.
Yanni,
So if I'm good,
is it better for you?
I just amped up a couple of sliders, so it should be fine.
He says
Great.
it's better.
So a quick review of collections. Collections are the shared folders that you can think of them as shared folders where you are going to store your Vault logins, your secure notes, and other items. And this is basically how sharing is handled within Bitwarden. Every Vault item that's in an organization needs to belong to a collection. That's a mandatory thing. So everything needs to be in a collection. Once it's in a collection, those collections can be assigned to groups or to users to access. And importantly, the user and so the items can belong in multiple collections, and the user can belong in multiple groups, and that lets you create a nice little lattice framework that is incredibly scalable from small families of the 6 users family group all the way to large enterprises with hundreds of thousands of users to have all the nice management and access control that you need. And next slide. So we're introducing 2 new settings, and these 2 new settings will have 4 different configurations that you can choose. So whether you have all the settings, these boxes checked, unchecked, or one of each. So we have these new collection settings in the collection management window of the admin console. Importantly, only owners are able to access these options, and you can see right here what they're labeled. They're labeled owners and admins can manage all collections and items, and then the other one is a checkbox, limit collection creation and deletion to owners and admins. Let's go over what those mean here in the next slide. So what you can do with these is you can choose how much or how little admins can access of your items. So I've created a spectrum here, full admin control on the left and full self-serve on the right. Build. The full admin control, admins can access every collection and view all vault items, and only admins can create and delete collections. This is currently the default behavior for Bitwarden organizations. So when you create an organization, this is what you get. And that is having both of those boxes checked. Now, if you uncheck both of the boxes on the opposite side of the spectrum, we have our full self-serve, where users can create and delete collections at will, and admins can only access collections that they've been assigned to. And something like this is great for full self-serve and also implementing a policy of least privilege so that admins don't have access to, I don't know, maybe that quarter's financial documents that need to stay private. So it's great for compliance and privacy and anything of that matter. And now on the next slide, we also have, I did set it up as a spectrum. In the middle, we have whether you have one box checked and the other box and one unchecked. You can get admin supervision. I'm just calling it admin supervision. It's not actually what it's called. I'm just labeling it. Where users can create and delete their own collections, and then admins can access all collections. So users have their own playground. They can play. They can create their own thing. But the admins are always there, able to look in and see everything that's happening. And then we also have the other option, which is user managed but admin assisted. And so admins can create collections for users, kind of build the playground, and then give it to the users and then bow out. They can be removed from collection access so that once the organization is set up, teams can have access to their collections, and then the admins can just go off and do their own thing and not worry about the users, and the users can manage themselves. So those are the four different behaviors of those settings. And on the next slide, we also added a new collections level permission. So before we had used to have like a user, admin, owner, and then there was also a type of user that was called a manager. The manager role has been deprecated in favor of this can manage permission. And that happens at the collection level, and it can be assigned to an individual or to a group. So you could have a Bitwarden group that can manage a collection, and then you could also have a user that can manage the collection as well. And you can there's a lot of different scenarios for this. So let's say groups, you wanted to have an admin group or a help desk group that is able to manage all the collections. So you give them the can manage permission on every collection. And they'll be able to access all of those things. Or let's say you have an individual user like a team lead or a project manager that only wants to have a collection that they manage themselves, and they can be given that can manage permission for that specific collection. And anyone with that permission can add or remove users and vault items from collections. And depending on the setting that you chose from the prior slides, that person can also delete the collection if they need to. Next slide, please. So what can you do? This is a 5-part build. Sorry, there's a heads up. So first, you can create private collections. Users can have their own collection that is shared with just themselves. This is very useful if you have the remove individual vault policy on, which gets rid of the individual vault so that everybody has to store their password in the organization. But if you wanted to, they can create their own. I can create the Ryan collection, and inside the Ryan collection are my Ryan accounts that I don't need anyone else to see, and it's just for me. It's important to note here that if I were to leave the organization, or if I were revoked or removed, and that collection became orphaned, admins would automatically have access to it. And I think we just lost our share.
Sorry, I just invited Casey on, so pin you to the corner, Casey.
There we go.
Yes.
And then if you'll build the next, I'll keep moving. You can maintain a policy of least privilege. Sorry, Casey, you're great, but I want to finish my slide. I want to maintain. You can maintain a policy of least privilege. So make sure that only the people who need access to an item have access. So as I said, admins aren't gaining access to, say, that quarter's financial data, so they don't go and start buying a bunch of options on your stock. Insider trading, prevent that. Next slide. The next build. You can let teams manage themselves. So, as I said, the self-serve, where users, teams can manage their own projects and work without having to contact admins. So that means fewer admin tickets for creating collections, adding things, adding people. You can allow going to a personal thing, allow families users to keep items private. This happens to me. I have a family organization with my brothers. My brothers also have their spouses in there. They can have a collection between the two of them that me, the family admin, can't see. I don't think they want me seeing their bank account information anyway. I'm not that much of a snoop, but it's nice to keep that private. And then on the last one I have is that you can create a help desk team. This is a great scenario where you can create a group called help desk if you wanted to, or whatever you need to, and put your support team in that group and give them that can manage permission. That way they can help all your end users with their collections, with their items, and all their vault items, and adding and removing people. But they don't have access to the SSO settings or any other sensitive organization settings that they don't need to have access to. So another way to also talk about least privilege, but not for secrets, but also for settings and information that way. And that's it for me, I believe. Does anybody have any questions about these new settings? And what they're for is that they just you can have collections and sharing work your way, how you want them to. Bitwarden, again, is the market leader for having flexibility in how you want your organization to be managed and run. So whichever system works best for you, you can choose, and everything is set up to make it easy for you to organize your team how you like.
Ryan, are these for which plans?
Any plan that has a collection. So that would be, the free 2-person org is kind of moot because you only get one or two collections with that, I forget. But families, teams, enterprise all have these settings.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If you have any questions, send them in chat, and Ryan's here to help answer. Let's see. Casey, you are up next to talk about autofill.
Yeah, thank you. And apologies again, Ryan, for interrupting your talk track. That was not my intention, but I guess it's my turn now. So I would love to shift gears as well. We've talked a lot about kind of encryption that happens in the back end, and then we've also talked a lot about administrative capabilities with collections. And I think shifting gears to highlight something that I am sure everyone on this call interacts with on a daily basis, which is autofill, and highlight some or give a little sneak peek of some upcoming enhancements to that I'm personally very excited about. So we can move on to the next slide. I want to highlight specifically the autofill options within browser. We have had quite a few updates to this within the past year, so it's always nice to give a little refresher about all of the options out there. So the first option for browser autofill is probably the one that most people interacted with first when starting up their Bitwarden account, and that's selecting the item within the browser pop-up. So if you save a URI to a specific item, you navigate to that site, you'll get that little icon saying how many login items are saved to that site. Then by clicking on the Bitwarden icon for browser, you can select exactly which item you would like to autofill. So very easy to discover within the Bitwarden product, and I'm sure everyone has used this now and then. And we can move on to the next slide. So another option that is also very popular for autofill is autofill on page load. Now this is off by default, so you're going to have to set it up in settings if you would like to have this enabled. But essentially, it enables you to autofill your login items on a page as soon as it loads, right? Of course, only the pages that you have saved as a URI, but it will automatically load into those associated fields. If you want to have a little bit more protections around the specific autofill option as well, you can set specific settings on the URI, like the base URL or maybe exact match to make sure that it doesn't autofill on any pages that you don't want it to. We can move on to the next one. The next option for inline autofill was actually released early this year, and this is inline autofill menu. So for this option, you will have a little menu like the one displayed in this screenshot that will pop up whenever you click inside a field or click on the little Bitwarden icon within that field. This has been a really cool release to see just how easy it is to autofill. It's a lot more visual than some of the other options as well, and it makes it really easy to select between multiple different options. We can move on to the next one. This one is my personal favorite. I'm a big fan of keyboard shortcuts. So if you are not aware, you can always use the keyboard shortcut Control-Shift-L or Command-Shift-L on Mac OS to autofill your items. And what's really cool is that you can actually move between different autofill items with this this keyboard shortcut by just continually, doing that shortcut. So you can cycle through those other autofill options. This is also really great if you are kind of a ergonomic nerd, right? You're trying to use your mouth a little bit more or use your mouth a little bit less. So keyboard shortcuts are a great option for that. The next option is context menu. So this is probably one of the options that most people are not aware of, just because you have to left click into the field and then go down to the Bitwarden menu option. But this autofill option actually provides a lot of other functionality that I don't know if everyone is aware of. So obviously, you can autofill a login from this context menu, but you can also copy a password or username. You can also create or generate a password for this account. And my personal favorite is that you can actually copy the custom field name. So you can use that when creating a custom field. So let's say you have a specific field on this website that doesn't fit into the typical username or password. Maybe it's a security question. I think that's a very common one. So you can copy that field name and then use that within your item. So that way it's really easy to autofill in the future. I know, right? It's kind of mind-blowing just seeing the chat. I use this very often. It's really great for security questions. If you also want to be super secure, this is a little off topic, but you can absolutely generate a answer to a security question with our passphrase generator as well. So just choosing a random word as opposed to having specific information that you're sharing that might actually already live on the internet, right? Like your mother's maiden name. That's maybe a little bit more of a security question that might have an answer already on the internet if you use Facebook or something like that. So a little off topic, but really cool functionality available within the context menu that you should absolutely check out. And then lastly, this is an option for whenever you don't have a URI saved within a specific item. So you can force autofill a username and password by just going to that specific item within the browser and then click autofill. You will also get a little notification from your browser as well if you're trying to autofill into a untrusted iframe or an HTTP site that is expected to be HTTPS. So definitely protections in place here, but something to be aware of if you forgot to add a URI, maybe you're working on mobile, something like that. Great. So what's really exciting is that we also have some upcoming enhancements to autofill. So in the near future, you will be able to autofill cards, identities, and passkeys from the inline autofill menu. So you can see some very early designs of what this will look like in the screenshots below. So for an example, if you're creating a account, you can autofill your name from an identity into a name field. You could autofill a credit card number into a card number field, and you can autofill a passkey whenever logging in. All of this is from the inline autofill menu that is displayed below. So very exciting updates that are coming soon. These are enhancements that will make it so much easier to navigate safely online and use your sensitive information securely. So very exciting enhancements, and I recommend just keeping your eyes out to see when these will be released. I think that's
Awesome.
all for autofill. Is there any questions? Oh, yeah, Matt, that's a great point. So for the copying the custom field name, that is really great for zip codes or other forms that you fill out regularly that doesn't fit into that typical username and password.
Awesome. Thanks, Casey. Great refresher on autofill, and really excited to see the upcoming enhancements to this feature.
It looks like we also have a couple questions as well, Vivian, that came in through the questions pane.
We had a browser extension question. Can you give us an update on the design refresh?
I do not have an update on that, but I believe
Yeah.
Ryan would.
Ryan, I'm going to bring you back
Ryan,
on stage.
I think he has some audio issues right now, so we can always move on to the next question as
Hey,
well
I'm
and see if we can answer that. Oh, nope, he's back
am I back?
online.
I'm back. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
my whole system crashed for a moment there, and I'm getting back in. So what was the question?
Question is if we have an
Update on
update
the
on Fresh
I'm sorry,
for
what
the
now?
browser extension.
The visual design refresh. So I
Yeah.
think I talked about this on Reddit. Am I quiet again? I'll boost myself some more. Sound good? Sound good? Sound good? Sorry. So an update on that. First, the browser extension update is going to. Okay, there's two update things that are happening right now. So first, we have the mobile app update, which is going through the native apps. Those are in beta. That included a minor refresh. After that will be released in the next month. There is also going to be a browser update, which you're talking about, the extension update, and that is planned, I believe, looking at the end of this quarter. It's really hard to put a time lock on it, but I'm seeing the designs get updated every day as the UX team is going through and making sure that everything is looking beautiful and great. So it might be end of Q3. We're looking at, depending on if we run into any problems. You know, it's always a moving target.
Then we had a couple of passkey questions in terms of plans to be able to store non-discoverable FIDO2 non-discoverable credentials.
Is there a plan to store
Yeah.
FIDO2 non-discoverable credentials, which are not passkeys as I understand it? I non-discoverable credentials. I don't believe so. So the whole they're not exactly passkeys, but I'm not versed enough to answer that question. I can reach out and ask about it. And then there was another question here: are there any hopes for logging with passkey coming to the other apps? That depends on the adoption of the PRF function. And I just heard an update recently that we're starting to see PRF appear in more browsers. And there's talks of Apple picking it up for Safari. And it would be really difficult to imagine Apple implementing something in Safari, but not also in iOS. So we're still seeing where it goes from there.
I think that's it for questions. Thanks, Casey, for calling those out. Casey, I'm going to bump you off stage so that later we can pull in Cy in the community updates. But thank you. And Chloe, you are up next.
Great. Is my audio okay?
Very clear.
Okay, perfect. Next slide, please. I'm going to talk about recovery codes today. So this comes in handy for when an emergency pops up. For example, let's say you lose your phone. I recently was traveling and I lost my wallet, and I got to thinking, if I lost my phone, would I have everything I need to not be in a nightmare situation where I can't access my important passwords and informations? And so we wanted to walk through the Bitwarden recovery code and some best practices for what to do to make sure that you are prepared in case something like this happens. So first of all, it's a good idea to write down your master password, your emergency code, and other important information on paper and store it in a safe place. And if you go to the Bitwarden subreddit and search emergency kit, there's some really great tips from our community on how to prepare an emergency kit that will cover you in a situation like this. So the Bitwarden recovery code is used to disable 2FA on your account so that if you still know your master password, you can log in if you've lost your, let's say, lost your phone and you've lost your 2FA method. And I'm going to go over how to get your recovery code. So first you go into the web browser, your web browser, and point it to vault.bitwarden.com, and then log into your Bitwarden account and click the profile icon on the upper right-hand corner of the window to open the menu. And from there, click account settings. And then in the resulting window, you'll click secure and then two-step login. And in this tab, you'll click View Recovery Code, and this will open up a pop-up where you will need to first type your master password, and then once you've entered your master password, you'll be shown your recovery code. So to restore your recovery code, there are different ways you can do this. Some community members recommend writing it down and storing it in a safe place, like a fireproof safe, or keeping it in an encrypted file on your hard drive. These are not official Bitwarden recommendations, but recommendations you can find from our community. And it's important to choose the one that works best for you and your security system. And then if you're also thinking, well, what other options do I have besides the recovery code? You can always designate someone as your emergency access to your account. You can also have multiple ways to use 2FA, like your 2FA code and then YubiKey, and also using an authenticator with a backup, such as Bitwarden Authenticator that's backed up with your OS phone. That's it for me.
Great. Thanks, Chloe.
Thanks.
All right. So if there's no other comments or questions around recovery codes, we're going to go into some recent news that have come out. So ZDNet did a piece on logging into Bitwarden with a passkey. Essentially, this means you can log into your Bitwarden web vault with a passkey without typing in a username or password. As Ryan mentioned, this is a beta implementation right now, and Bitwarden utilizes the PRF WebAuthn extension for passkeys. And we do this because the PRF WebAuthn is what allows passkeys to be used as part of the encryption process. So again, it is balancing the convenience of the passkey with end-to-end encryption. This was a fun article. Jared Newman, he's a freelance tech writer, and he wrote about his quest to become less reliant on what he calls fly-by-night startups or other major tech companies, where they're building software that isn't really built to last. And so he's looking for software and companies that are building solutions that's resilient and, again, built to last. And so he called out Bitwarden as one of those companies, and saying that Bitwarden aligns to his values as a sustainable, durable tech product that's unlikely to put the screws on its users. And then Tech Republic did a kind of a side-by-side comparison with Bitwarden and Dashlane. Bitwarden does inch above Dashlane in this review. We went out in terms of offering a few more MFA options, a few more multi-factor authentication options. Customer support was noted, so shout out to our customer success team, as well as platform support. So we offer a few more selections to platform support, both in terms of desktop, mobile platforms, as well as our browser extensions. And the writer also noted that we support the Linux and F-Droid and CLI, so a bit more options for technical users. And then Chloe, you're going to run through some of our blogs this month.
Yeah, we've got two really great case studies on the blog. First, we have one with IOLab, and it focuses on how they use Bitwarden to consolidate their security system or cybersecurity system. They had employees using multiple, prior to Bitwarden, they had employees using different password managers, some using browser password managers, and they talk about how they had a really great time onboarding with Bitwarden. It was very easy to get everyone into one place. And then in our second case study is with a credit union, and they talk about how they had really great success in increasing adoption of the password of their password manager when moving to Bitwarden. And similar to IOLab, we're really surprised by how easy it was to onboard with Bitwarden. So both of these are really worth a read. Oh, sorry. This is me as well, right? No, this is Sai. Oh, you're on mute, Vivian.
I think
No, those are still blogs.
I just got invited on stage, so I'll go ahead and pop up again.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, so these are just some recognitions by third-party reviewers. So Software Reviews is one of those third-party analyst reviewers that looks at password managers across industries. So Bitwarden was ranked #1 for 2024. G2 Crowd is another similar type of industry analyst report, and we performed very well in the last Enterprise Grid survey. This is a great blog on different types of phishing attacks and what are some of the common indicators of that. So worth a read there. Top 5 DevOps security practices is another blog that came out this month, speaking to how developers and DevOps teams can better protect themselves. As you may know, Bitwarden has a couple of developer solutions, Bitwarden Secrets Manager, as well as passwordless.dev. Secrets Manager helps developers and DevOps teams manage, secure, automate their machine credentials. Passwordless.dev provides different SDKs and toolkits for developers that are looking to implement passkeys within their websites or applications. And then this is the blog that Ryan went over around the new collections permissions. So, and then Sai, going to hand it over to you.
All right, now it's my turn. All right, perfect. Well, hi everyone. My name is Sai. I'm going to be taking us through the Help Center and talking about some of our different community activities. So first thing I want to focus on is our Help Center. So if you haven't checked it out before, hopefully this is a good time to do so. I wanted to call out a couple of articles that received an update. So I know Ryan mentioned all the great changes that we've had, but a few others that I wanted to call out. So if you are part of an organization that's utilizing single sign-on with trusted devices, that's a great feature that we introduced not so recently at this point, but still, now you can bulk approve those employee devices in the web app and CLI. So you can take a look at that article if that's something that you want to learn how to do. And then kind of on that same topic of our vault security that Matt covered towards the beginning, We recently also added an extra layer of encryption in the form of an encryption key generated for each individual vault item. So we continue to do things to make your vaults even more secure. If you've never taken a look at our Bitwarden security white paper and you enjoy learning more about encryption and that kind of tech nerdery, please do take a peek there for some recent updates that we've made. Next slide, please. All right, talking about the Learning Center. So this month, I wanted to take a little bit of a different focus here. So we talk a lot about all of the ways that you can use Bitwarden for business, but I wanted to highlight a couple of resources we have. Sorry about that. For our families plan. So whether you are just getting started on Bitwarden families and you want to put it in place for your family or even your friends, I know it's called families, but you can share that with whoever you'd like. Or if you're trying to get that new family member, maybe a parent on board and learning the basics, we have step-by-step guides to really simplify it for you so you can get up to speed as quickly as possible. So going to bounce over here to our community. So I always want to call out getting engaged. So not only do you have things like vault hours here, but obviously this is only once a month, as it's scheduled. But that's not the only time where you can get help or learn more about the Bitwarden products. So we've got a really active official Bitwarden community over at bitwarden.com/community. Our Reddit is very active. You'll see Kyle, our founder, on there fairly often. And then we also have a presence over on Mastodon if you prefer that rather than X or something like that. Now, if you want to get involved, so there are a variety of ways to do that. Obviously, that last one, attend an event, you're here. So thank you very much for getting involved in this way. But you can also contribute to our code. So Bitwarden is an open source product, and we welcome community contributions. So please feel free if there's a feature that you want and it's not something that we offer just yet, you are welcome to contribute yourself. So recommend taking a look at that if you are interested. We've got Crowdin available for our localization. So if you're fluent in more than one language, you can help us make sure that not only is our product available in all of the languages you speak, but that our translations are as accurate as possible. And then lastly, I want to call out the community forums. So not only can you engage with other people there, so you can ask questions of the community, that's also where we have publicly available ability to submit a feature request. So maybe you can't contribute to our code, but you still have a great idea for how we can improve. Please feel free to share those ideas with us. You can also participate in our beta programs. So like our native apps that we currently have in beta, you can get involved in some of those programs, and you can also participate in user research. So we want to know how you're using Bitwarden in your day-to-day and how we can make it better for you. All right, I think this is my last one here. Actually, no, I think I have one more after this, but that's all right. So this one, I just want to call out, if you love Bitwarden, why not be a part of Bitwarden? So this is just a list of some of the open roles we have right now. And we also have an open interest form if there's something that you feel you can contribute to Bitwarden, but not a relevant role open. Still reach out to us, let us know. We do review those. So please join us and be a part of the team. All right, this one is last but certainly not least, is calling out some of our different events coming up. So as always, we have our weekly Teams and Enterprise demo, also known as our product deep dive. We have our Bitwarden Secrets Manager demo, which is every other Tuesday at noon Eastern. So that next one is coming up next Tuesday here. We've got our MSP demo, so that is every second Thursday. I know there's a little bit of difference in dates there, but you can always go to that bitwarden.com/events to take a look at when the next thing is coming up. And then I do want to call out our Open Source Security Summit. So that is coming out on September 26th. So we've got some great speakers lined up for that. Please take a look at our website for some details and a preview of what you can expect. Typically, we have a really great showing for that. So please put it on your calendars, and we'll see you there.
Great. I think that is it for events. Thanks, Sai. And Ernest just had a question about, does Bitwarden have a contact for connecting with student groups? And Ernest, it sounds like you are a CS major at University of Toronto. And I don't know if you want to join us on stage and ask and maybe clarify what you mean. We do have, Bitwarden has a number of higher ed customers, and they have often invited us to speak at different events for their administrators and educators, and kind of educating them on password management best practices and using Bitwarden. So short answer is we don't have an official contact, but we do have a number of higher ed customers, and we are involved in participating in their sessions if they invite us to do so. So hope that answers your question, Ernest. And if not, feel free to clarify. So while Ernest is doing that, one last thing from us, Bitwarden store giveaway. So we always are replenishing our store for great swag. And if you want to receive some free swag, please submit, go to bitwarden.com/shop. Fill out the contact form and mention that you were on Vault Hours 42, and then we will select a winner, and you'll be able to get some free swag. And that's it for today. So we're going to hang out here for a couple more minutes. Ryan is going to close us out with some music. He is our DJ for the day, and hope everyone has a great weekend. Thank you all.
Oh, Vivian,
Yeah.
Ernest said that he'd be happy to come up on stage and clarify that question.
Oh, sure. I didn't see that. I just looked at the answer.
He put it in the chat.
Okay, I missed that. Sorry, Ernest.
No worries.
Thanks for calling outside. Ernest, I'm pulling you on.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, we hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. Hi, Ernest.
Hi. So yeah, we just hold a very high volume of programming at the Computer Science Student Union at the University of Toronto, and it's an opportunity to connect with like talent pool from a top school. So I was just wondering if Bitwarden does stuff like that, or if not.
Talent pool, you mean for like recruiting specifically?
Yeah, like we've had sponsors like Google, Intel, Huawei, and
I see.
every year, and we have recruitment breakfasts and stuff.
We haven't done anything like that. We've done educational seminars in which we can educate people about password management and security, but we haven't done anything specifically where we sponsor a group of people. And I'm not sure if we would start doing that yet or not.
Okay, very cool. So is there a contact for those educational talks?
Not a specific contact, Ernest. If we do have something, we'll probably post it on our events page. I know if you wanna Slack me, you can. I'm gonna send my email to you in the Slack channel, Ernest. If you wanna email me directly, we are going to be speaking at an educational sector event in the fall, and so I'll be participating in that. The name of it slips my mind right now. So, but if you wanna email me, Ernest, I'd be happy to share more with you.
Yeah, and if you
but we don't really have like an official large recruiting team that's going out to universities for that purpose. We're still a startup, and so yeah, we don't have official recruiting events for universities at this moment. Hopefully we will. We'll be big enough and we'll need to scale our our recruiting process in such a way. But at this point, we're still pretty much yeah, a mid to late stage startup. So
Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you for joining us today.
Happy to. Thanks a lot.
All right, I'm going to remove you from stage, and then Ryan, you can go ahead and close this out. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us today. Bye.